Okie dokie. Would you like to offer the prayer?
Yeah, that'd be great. Our Father in heaven, we are so thankful for this opportunity which we have to meet together to discuss this course that we're taking. And we ask that thou will please bless us, that our minds might be open, that we might retain the things that we are learning, that will help us in our careers and in our families. Bless us that we can have open conversation and learn from each other. And these things we pray in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
So just out of curiosity, how are you enjoying the course so far?
Well, that's tough because I don't want anyone to watch this and tell. I don't like this class.
You don't?
I have not. I love the book. The case studies are okay. This team is the most difficult one I've ever had.
It's not the most difficult I've had, but it's right up there. It's in the top 3.
I
had one team, like the one who was supposed to meet me before, the one that we shifted the schedule for.
Mm-hmm.
They never even, no communication, no emails, no nothing. Nobody talked all this week. I still don't know what's going on.
Oh,
and if I had one person respond, I would have done exactly what I'm doing with you, but nobody responded. Nobody's writing the discussion groups, nothing.
Oh, wow. And that's what I feel like with this one. It seems to just be you and I in the discussion groups.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that he says you don't actually have to, he doesn't say you don't have to write in the discussion groups. He just says it doesn't matter how much you write. Yeah. So I'm sitting there like, I've written like the only, if not one of 2 comments in these discussion groups each week. And this week I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. I'm going to wait for somebody else to comment.
Yeah, I just posted today. I've had a busy week, but today was the first time I had a chance to get to it. So I put stuff in there today. But
I saw that and I responded.
Oh, did you? I haven't even looked. I haven't been back on yet.
I thought it was a really good post also. So it was really good. Okay. So a brief synopsis of the case. The case describes the dilemma of a marketing manager, Thomas Green, who, after being rapidly promoted to a new position, is harshly criticized by his boss. Green and his boss disagree on work styles and market projections. Green believes the sales goals set by his boss are based on creative accounting and grossly overstated the current market environment. A mood of silent conflict develops quickly. It's not silent. Between Green and his boss, and Green is concerned that his boss is building a case to fire him. Green's situation is one in which his failure to adapt his work style and fully understand the demands and boundaries of his new position may lead to his discharge. Now, I might totally agree with this synopsis if I hadn't already taken human resources. But I simply don't agree. I think that his boss has been passive aggressive and is not open to ideas, and that the one who hired him is not supporting him, and that all of them need to go through training. Although I did specifically say that Green needed to have more thorough training about what was expected of him within his position.
I put that as well in my write-up, and that I put that the one thing he needs to do is respect the way that his boss requires feedback from him. He needs physical, written down feedback, not just verbal. And he needs to respect that. So I did put that as well.
Something that really bugged me about Davis was just that he was not, it really wasn't Davis that bugged me. It was McDonald. I'm sitting here thinking, McDonald hired him. She obviously saw potential in him. And then she said, by the way, you're probably not going to be liked by your boss, but I'm not going to talk to you again.
Yeah, you'll have to deal with the fallout.
Like, what is your problem?
You need some support. Yeah.
I mean, he'd been doing his job rather well, apparently, because he had some really good ideas and he was working at it. And all of a sudden, it doesn't seem to matter what he does. He will never succeed because he's got a manager who doesn't listen to feedback, who's unrealistic, and then McDonald, who couldn't care less that I would sit down with Green and be like, okay, what's going on? And he would say, hey, I think that he's really overestimating. The market is not doing great. It was 2008. So we all can look back and say, yeah, it wasn't doing great.
Right.
And let her decide, but she's not being a very good boss. She's not paying any attention to anybody. It's really annoying. Okay.
So when I wrote up my case study, I directed it to her and the things that she should be doing to resolve this situation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What are each of their conflicts? Okay, so the second analysis section. So I think we kind of already discussed our issues with the most. So who is mostly at fault for the state of the current situation?
Her.
Yeah, I would say McDonald.
Because she set them up to fail.
Absolutely. And she as the manager has to take responsibility for all failures.
Yeah. Yep.
Let me see. Newer just commented really quick. Okay. Newer has the flu.
Oh, geez. Poor guy.
Okay. All right. What or how does power and office politics come into play? So hint, content, or topic. What does each person want? I think, honestly, Davis just wants to do his job and get credit when he does. And I think Green wants to do his job.
Right.
Davis wants power. He wants to hold something over on Davis and McDonald because he's mad that he didn't get to pick the person who replaced him.
See, I thought maybe Green and Davis were having a power struggle. That's what I put. Both of them think that they can do their job better than the other person. And
well, so I might agree with you if Davis had tried to do if Green had tried to do Davis's job.
Well, I mean, okay, both of them think that they can do Green's job better.
Oh, okay,
That's what I mean. Yeah. Because they do it in very different ways. And so Green thinks that the way Davis did it is outdated and is not effective. And Davis thinks that Green is doing it wrong because he's not doing it the way that he did it when he was in that position.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And then I actually had suggested that Davis be sent to a week-long leadership training.
Oh, I did too. I suggested that he went to training on being an effective leader, and that Green went to training on how to deal with personalities and work with, to get along with his boss, basically.
And I didn't feel like Green necessarily needed that as much as he needed to know exactly what was expected out of him from his job. Because once he fulfills every duty of his job, even though he doesn't necessarily like the writing or he doesn't like to do things a certain way, but once he said, this you have to do, this is part of your job, reporting is part of your job.
Right.
Once that's established and he starts doing it, Davis will really have no place over him doing it, but Davis will try to take that place because as a leader, he hasn't learned how to allow his team the like what you said in your post on the discussion board, to just allow him to do something with a what and when, and allow him to do his own how.
Yeah. Yep. So
okay, we discussed. Okay, what is?
Oh, I said, because I listed 3 problems on my case study. Mutual influence, lack of communication, and lack of trust. Those are the 3 problems I listed as root problems.
I would have to look at mine again. Let me pull it up really quick. Oh my gosh, I have so many classes.
I don't know how you're doing it. I'm dying with these 3. I mean, I'm just staying afloat.
You know, I honestly look back and I think I had a harder time on 3 classes than I did on 6. I don't know why. I was morning sick through 3 classes, and those are the worst grades I've gotten my entire college career. And then I'm going through the same thing, but I feel like I'm handling it better.
It depends on the courses as well. I mean, I struggled with accounting and economics.
Oh gosh, accounting was like murder to me.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
I struggled with those.
I wrote out mine as a letter to Miss McDonald.
That's what I did as well.
And then here, I'll read mine too, and then you can read yours to me, because I'm curious. All right, Miss McDonald, following is my evaluation and recommendation on the conflict between Mr. Davis and Mr. Green. The two gentlemen in question have distinct and unique personalities, but the office is no place for power struggles, but rather unification. Mr. Davis' opinion of Mr. Green is clear in the memos he has been writing you regarding him. While it may not be clear that Mr. Davis has an agenda against Mr. Green, that he does not like him as an individual is rather obvious. Mr. Green has a responsibility to maintain records as senior market specialist. These and any other duties should have been made clear upon promotion, and while Mr. Green may not be accustomed to working in that fashion, it is still a necessary requirement. Ms. McDonald, office politics of this nature will tear down a company internally. You have a responsibility to maintain a certain standard of cooperation in this division. You brought Mr. Green into this position knowing full well there would be conflicts. You might have taken it upon yourself to show more support to him during the transition. My recommendations include the following. Provide a more thorough training for Mr. Green and his responsibilities within this position. As he has already been actively completing most duties well, this might be a much simpler process, but still necessary to reiterate certain tasks he is not completing in a clear manner. Mr. Davis is in need of some training as well in leadership and personal development. His training will be a lengthier process and might be one that similarly placed managers might benefit from as well. This leadership and personal training development course would assist managers to limit their bias, learn more appropriate techniques in evaluating their subordinates, recognize alternative ideas, and focus on using the strengths of their juniors. Mr. Green's origins are his assets in this position, which is why you chose him to begin with. It is my belief that if Mr. Davis recognizes that what could potentially be viewed as bullying of Mr. Green continues, he will have EEO concerns that he likely should strive to avoid. You should review all that Mr. Green has accomplished during his short time in his promotion and compare it with the information being provided. With that information, you'll be more fully equipped to access or to accept or decline my suggestions in this matter.
Wow, that was good. I agreed with everything that you said there. I like how you wrote it too. It's a little bit different than mine because I am a step-by-step person. I'm a task-minded person. And so I broke mine up a little differently, not really a letter. But mine says, Ms. McDonald, after reviewing your situation at Dynamic Displays involving yourself, Thomas Green, and Frank Davis, I provided a synopsis of the situation, the root problems, and an action plan to resolve the problems identified. Synopsis. Thomas Green was hired as an account executive who proved himself to be a very bright and ambitious person with a great rapport with his clients. In just 5 months, Green was offered a promotion with heavy reservations due to the lack of managerial experience. Green was promoted to senior market specialist. Green now reports to Frank Davis, the marketing director. Davis has recently been promoted from the position that Green assumed. Green was warned that he would have to deal with any fallout that occurred due to him being hired without the backing from Frank Davis. He was given this promotion with no plan on how he was to deal with Davis or even what kind of fallout to expect. Problem 1, mutual influence. Interactional partners taking account of each other's characteristics and behaviors and thus influencing each other's behaviors in interaction. In this case, both Davis and Green are trying to influence the behavior of the other because they believe they can perform the job better than the other. This conflict with each other has led to a political battle that involves others outside of the work group. Davis uses the coercive style of management, which is not well received by Green. He believes that he knows how to do the job the best and wants Green to do the job the same way he did it when he was in that position. Problem 2, lack of communication. Green's strengths lie in face-to-face communication. He's very charismatic and has great rapport with his clients. He has self-confidence. Oh my goodness, another typo. He is self-confident, has an ambitious attitude, and works independently. Davis's strengths are in meticulous detail, scheduling, and documentation. He is highly organized and very direct to-the-point leader. These are both very effective and very different styles. Green and Davis have not come to an agreement as to how they will effectively communicate with each other. Problem 3, lack of trust. This problem is a direct result of the lack of communication Green and Davis possess. Davis cannot trust Green because he does not see the results. He does not want verbal communication. He wants written communication, which Green does not provide. Green does not trust Davis because he thinks he's out to get him due to not being part of the hiring process. Action plan for problem 1. Discuss this issue first individually with each person, then as a group. The individual discussions will allow you to get all the data in case some was missed. You should share your view of the situation, then encourage them to think out loud about what might be making the situation so difficult. The outcome that is hoped for is that they will appreciate each other's work style and find a middle ground that works for both. Davis needs to give Green the freedom to do his work how he does it best, face-to-face, and Green needs to write up reports about his meetings so Davis has something tangible to go from. Action plan for problem 2. The lack of communication can be solved by many ways. Some suggestions would be a daily stand-up call. A 10-minute conversation each morning would put both employees on the same page with the same goals in sight. A weekly retrospective communication meeting would help them to reflect on the week and to see what went well and where there are areas of improvement in their communication gaps. Thomas Green could take a seminar on reporting to help him learn the importance and understanding the views of Frank Davis. Allow them to come up with their own solutions. If there is a mutual desire, jointly brainstorm ideas about overcoming any barriers. Action 3, a team without trust isn't really a team. It's just a group of individuals working together, often making disappointing progress. They may not share information. They might battle over rights and responsibilities, and they may not cooperate with one another. It doesn't matter how capable or talented your people are. They may never reach their full potential if trust is not present. This will need to be worked on daily. Once a leader has developed a lack of trust in the ability of the team members, it's an uphill battle from then on. Lack of trust tends to ruin productivity and leads to micromanagement. The steps to fix this are lead by example, communicate openly, know each other personally, don't place blame, discourage cliques, and discuss trust issues. The problems the team is facing are not impossible to overcome, but they will need to be addressed and worked on if the team is going to be successful. If the team can embrace the differences in work styles and personalities and commit to improve in mutual influence, lack of communication, and lack of trust, this will allow the talent on the team to make the company successful.
I like it. It's different. It's different from mine, but it's still
Yeah.
just okay. So 2 things, and then we'll finish.
Okay.
The question is, well, there's a couple of things. There's more than just 2, actually. Okay, how can managing up be applied at work? So I looked at managing up because I'm not familiar with that term.
Mm-hmm.
It means being the most effective employee you can be, creating value for your boss and your company. That's why the best path to a healthy relationship begins and ends with doing your job and doing it well. So that's kind of a given. I mean, I think everybody should. That's just work ethic.
Right.
What gospel connections are pertinent? Are there any connections between this case and this week's reading assignments? If so, what are they? Which I feel like you addressed that, didn't you, in your discussion board?
Yeah. I don't remember.
It's okay.
I don't remember.
Okay. And last, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, nothing. I just can't remember what each class does.
Okay. So here's the rest of the story. After McDonald's February 5th, 2008 email, Green took the offensive against his boss. He crafted a series of memorandums, emails, reports, and projections that exposed inaccuracies and creative forecasting. This data enabled Green to build some alliances with other marketing personnel who used the data to ultimately side with him. On April 4th, which was 2 months later, it was announced that Frank Davis was being moved laterally to an undefined special project. However, Green's tactics was seen as overly brutal by many of the company, and although he won the battle against his boss, his career was irreparably harmed. McDonald distanced herself from him, which she had already done. So that's by July of 2008, Green announced he was resigning from his position to pursue full-time studies for an MBA. We can only speculate what would have occurred if Green had tried to help Davis work out the discrepancies and problems with forecasts. Perhaps both would have succeeded. Really, I still think it all comes down to McDonald.
Yeah. Yeah, she did not lead the team. She did not resolve the problems.
And Green probably shouldn't have gone that way. I mean, part of me kind of thought, oh, well, he could do this, but I wouldn't have ever done that. But he was being left with absolutely no option. He had one boss who couldn't care less and one who was attacking him constantly and not listening to a word he said. And McDonald didn't care that he wasn't paying attention. But
right.
His leader, she was supposed to be in charge of Davis, of Davis. And she wasn't. And I don't really care how much they say that something should have happened between Green and Davis. McDonald is the one who I put all the blame on in this.
I do too. I do as well. And I do put some on. I do put some on Davis because he wouldn't even give Green a chance. Really, he was so butthurt from being hired around him that he couldn't get past that.
Yeah. And I mean, I put a little blame on Green at the end here with the way he managed things and how harshly he handled it.
Yeah.
But I mean, he really didn't have a whole lot of choice. Yeah. Davis wasn't listening to him. McDonald wasn't listening to him. And he had a bunch of numbers that were inflated. And that's kind of fraudulent when it comes right down to it. It's a business. We're not in the business of making up numbers. We're in the business of growing our business legally, legitimately.
Yeah.
So
all right. Great.
Okay. Thank you for meeting with me.
Oh, thank you. So are you going to post this in that?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to post this and then I'm going to share it. I'm going to send it an email also.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure. I will see you next week.
Next week at 8:00. Is that our set time? I got to change it on my calendar.
Yeah,
okay.
It's 8:00.
All right. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.